Good evening. How are you? Well, it's about 6:30 p.m. It's a good time to go out. The temperatures dropped down into the high 70s. We hit 90 something. Then we were in the 80s. So I had plenty to write, so I just kept writing away all day. And after I do this, I have to go back and write some more. So let's see. What's on my hit parade? We're having what's called a pretrial conference in the Trump prosecution in Florida. I assume it's in Fort Pierce, where the judge normally sits. And I had a couple of matters in that courthouse. It's kind of nice, not that far from NASA. So now the pretrial conference is going to be on July 14th. That's a special day. That's Bastille Day. I don't know if there'll be fireworks that correspond to that French holiday, but I was in France once on Bastille Day, and the place was going crazy. I'm not sure anybody remembers the historical forebears. So what they'll do with this is they'll set aside time for motions. The judge may ask that day, what motions do we have? Maybe set up a briefing schedule, maybe assign it to the magistrate to do all the dirty work, and figure out the timeline. So that's one thing that's going to happen. It's a nice step in the right direction to find out if Judge Loose Cannon is still as loose as she was. But I think if she was civilized, she would have chosen a center place for the trial to go forward that was more convenient to all the parties. And it doesn't surprise me that she doesn't do that. You have probably heard about, if you didn't hear, the CNN tape. That involves our boy Trump and the fact questions that are going on in this case in Florida, which is you have documents, you know you can't have them, you know you can't declassify them, and are you discussing them with others? And the beauty of this tape is it answers all of those things in the affirmative, because you have Trump on the tape saying, well, you know, I should have declassified this before I left government. He's having the documents. He's talking about them being top secret. He talks about it being a defense-related matter involving Iran. He talks about it with a second person, so he's actually distributing it. Why this traitor is not in jail right now is beyond me. And this didn't happen yesterday. At first I thought it was a new tape today until I heard it. And it's the CNN tape they've been discussing in the news. And the tape was, I think, in 2021. So it's been out there a while. What harm has he done? Who knows? I mean, if you have an advantage like this, and you're a foreign government, and you're paying this guy, or he's giving it to you because he's dead stupid and truly a traitor, you have all these disadvantages, and you have all the danger to assets, as we call them, plans as we've prepared them, and he just doesn't give a damn. So now some said, well, will that tape get in? Of course it will. And some said, oh, it's hearsay. You know, this drives me crazy. Hearsay is a rule that is supposed to guarantee the reliability of things. So if it's, quote, purely hearsay, it doesn't have any reliability, then you don't get it in. But the law has evolved this way. If you make a statement against yourself, it's considered reliable that it's true because people don't like to admit to things except Trump. So that, you know, and it's also an admission. He's admitting the crime, even as it sounds like he's visibly committing the crime. It sounds like he has the documents. He shows that he has knowledge that he shouldn't have them, that if he wanted to have them, he should have tried to declassify them before he left the White House, which he didn't do. And he's showing them to another person, which is insane. I've had clients that I don't know, I guess they were mistaken in judgment. Usually it's public figures because they think they should just talk. And the notion of remaining silent is not even to tell an honest story and then have people run around and get witnesses to contradict it, knowing what your defense is. Now, part of that is that the people that you're getting to say that are not reliable themselves. So silence is a really good thing in a criminal case, usually. But public figures don't like it, and they talk. And my dad always said there was a thin line between genius and insanity. And the way Trump conducts himself, he's not the most perfect genius, shall we say. But he is pretty close to a pretty damn mad fellow. He does things that don't even make sense for him. He has impulses that are clinical, it seems to me. So now there are other subjects, one of which that I am particularly upset about involves carbon capture. Obama raised this question back in when he was in the White House, and even before that one as a candidate. And he said that carbon capture was the answer. We didn't have to worry about things involving carbon emissions, because what we would do is when the carbon was coming out from oil and gas, we'd capture it. And what will we do with it? We then bury it. Now, this is one of these things that just doesn't work. But it gives a cover story to people who want to appear to be, how will I say it, sensitive to the environment, when in fact this is nonsense. And in the meantime, when they're doing this, they extend the business life of the fossil fuels, because they're doing something about it. At $85 a ton, they'll be burying the carbon. Now, where are they burying it? Oh, they're burying it where the waters are under the earth that we drink, near other bodies of water, in the soil, compromising it. And we have to presume it doesn't leak out. And mostly there have only been studies and projects to do this. But now Biden is following in the steps of Obama and others, and environmentalists are pushing back, saying this doesn't work. What are you doing? Spending money on this? Why not move on to renewables? And it's because the fossil fools don't want to give up the advantage they have of being in place, and they want to be sure to use everything up, even though they've caused places like Cancer Alleys where they have these oil and gas machinery. So what's going to happen? Well, these guys managed to keep going, and the carbon emissions come, and I think we're at 434, and some may remember parts per million, and you may remember that we were shooting for 350 only a few years ago. And so someday, a story that used to appear when I was a kid, the National Enquirer, of people spontaneously combusting, sooner or later something like that's going to happen. There's going to be some freak of nature, it appears, when it is caused by us disregarding what nature is telling us, has been telling us, and that we've ignored. Now, there is one thing that I like being out in the country is that Biden is spending $42 billion on extending high-speed internet. I think that's good. We'll find out. And over in Russia, how's that going out? Well, Lukashenko is a close friend of Putin, and that's where they're sending those, Ascending may sound strong, but if we're to believe it, there's an agreement that those who were, quote, protesting are going to go to Belarus. And Lukashenko, that's his domain, and he's been very close to Putin because Putin got him out of a jam when nobody else was supporting Lukashenko. So, but we cover it wall to wall like there's nothing more important than what's happening in Russia, even as we have the sad state of affairs here. So, we keep watching these things, and we sort of have to kind of be at least conscious and open and talk to your neighbors about what's wrong, because it doesn't go away on its own. And politicians fear nothing like an opposite opinion. And there are only so many people that you can trash to decry their credibility and have that work. And that's basically the tendency that they all do. So that's what I got to say today. I expect I'll be out tomorrow, notwithstanding the heat, and if that's what we have. And so be well, and I say hello from my cathedral of trees. Bye-bye.